It's one of the most controversial cuts to benefits, and it's being fought tooth and nail.
We haven't given up, that we're just beginning the fight back, and we're out to get them.
Tonight on Dispatches, we investigate the bedroom tax.
What we're doing in terms of removing the spare room subsidy is fair.
But we reveal the family homes now being left empty.
The tenant that lived in this house was under-occupying and had to move out.
The benefit claimants resisting moving.
It's not a house, it's my home. This is where I brought my baby up.
And the Conservative politicians who are now speaking out.
The time has come when those councils have got to put their money where their mouth is and explain to the grandees of our party that this is going to have a disastrous effect at the ballot box.
With the debate over welfare cuts raging, we ask, is the government's flagship benefit cut in trouble? Over 5 million people in the UK claim housing benefit. It cost the country over £24 billion last year, and it's forecast to keep rising. But the government wants to cut the bill by £1 billion over the next 2 years.
We're saying that if you continue to live in a council house that is bigger than you need, you'll need to make a contribution towards the extra bedroom.
The government are calling it the removal of the spare room subsidy, but most people call it the bedroom tax. It's a simple idea. As of April last year, if you're of working age, in receipt of housing benefit and are deemed to have a spare bedroom, then you could lose up to 14% of your total rent. And it's 25% if you have more than one spare room. So the choice is clear. Either come up with the money yourself or move to a smaller property.
Karen Price has lived in this 3-bedroom house in Liverpool for 21 years. She claims housing benefit to help cover the rent.
You brought up your children here?
I brought up my one daughter. She was one when we moved in. Now she's left home, she lives with a boyfriend, so now I'm technically classed as having 2 spare rooms.
Knowing that there's a huge amount of millions being paid out to people like yourself, sometimes deserving, sometimes not, can you see why we need to bring the benefits bill down?
No. No, not at all, because you're ignorant. That means you are totally ignorant. I am not saying there aren't people that don't play the system, but that is a minority, a real minority. It's not a house, it's my home. This is where I brought my baby up. 1 bedroom was hers, the other bedroom was her homework room. That's where she couldn't watch the television. So that, to me, it was never has been a bedroom.
When the bedroom tax was introduced, opinion polls suggested wide-scale public support for the government cuts. But Karen disagrees.
I grew up here. I went to the school, the same schools that my daughter went to. Or if I did move, where am I going to go? Who am I going to live with? What area am I going to be in? I'm taken away from everything that I know. And in 21 years, why should that happen to me?
This is simply to make sure housing benefits under control and people who live in houses they don't fully occupy recognise that this is a heavily subsidised service.
The government claim cutting housing benefit for those in social housing will save nearly £500 million a year. Redcar, in the old industrial heartland of the northeast.
Okay.
Right.
Living room.
Well, this is the living room, as you can see. Good size. Just ready to move into, really.
Rather than be hit by the bedroom tax, a number of residents on this estate have chosen to move out. Homes like this are now lying empty.
The kitchen, which is,
Okay.
again, small but fully refurbished.
Yeah, there really isn't anything wrong with this place, is it?
No, not
You've
at
even
all.
got a little back garden.
Since last April, Coast and Country, a housing association with over 10,000 properties in the area, has seen a 150% increase in the number of void properties that it manages. Most are family homes like this.
How much does it cost you to keep this place empty?
Well, we lose rental per week, and the rent for this is about £90 per week. This one's been empty for several months, so you're already losing £500–600 worth of rent. So this is the master bedroom. There's 3 bedrooms up here.
It's a good size.
Good family size home. I mean, the tenant that lived in this house was under-occupying and had to move out. The next door neighbour is looking to move because they're under-occupying as well.
Since the benefit cuts were introduced, 1 in 2 social landlords are reporting that properties are sitting empty for longer, costing them more in lost revenue. With houses that fewer want, Iain may start having to think the unthinkable.
Demolition would be absolute last resort if all else failed.
Back at base, he took us through the amount of rent being lost as properties stand empty.
We're expecting from 374,000 at the end of last financial year, probably outturn about £1 million this year, so that's a significant increase.
How much would you say you're a victim of the housing stock you had in the first place?
Certainly in an industrial heartland like Teesside used to be, big family housing was the norm. So therefore, we have purposefully under-occupied properties.
The government say the fact that people are downsizing shows the policy is working. But Iain sees it very differently.
I personally think that the under-occupation rules are complete and utter nonsense. I think it's been ill thought out, ill conceived, and there hasn't been any proper impact assessment done nationally as to how the under-occupation of the bedroom tax would affect, say, northern landlords as opposed to southern landlords.
The Chartered Institute of Housing has revealed that 64% of social landlords report a fall in demand for 2 to 3 bed properties because of welfare reforms like the bedroom tax.
Glasgow is home to one of the UK's biggest social landlords, the Glasgow Housing Association. They have over 43,000 tenants in some of the city's most deprived neighbourhoods. In 2003, they began a 10-year plan costing £1.2 billion to demolish and refurbish tens of thousands of homes across the city. The bedroom tax has forced them to adjust their plans.
Up until the introduction of the bedroom tax, we didn't actually, in terms of our new build programme, build any one-bedroom apartments. Really? Our board didn't want to do that. We felt that, for flexibility, people's changing lives, that 2 bedrooms was a minimum that they would require. This is a 2-bedroom flat.
Those of us who rent privately do have to move if our circumstances change, and I will have to move out. Why shouldn't someone in social housing go through the same thing?
We have over 1,600 people who are subject to the bedroom tax just now who have said, yes, I'm happy to move into a smaller house. We don't have the house to give them, so there is no choice. It's a fictitious choice, it's a fantasy, it's not a choice.
Glasgow Housing Association would have to wait years for new developments to be built. So they've decided to buy 1- and 2-bed homes on the open market at a projected cost of £15 million.
There's no question that it's a scarce resource. Yes, we need to build more, but at the same time, I think we've got to make sure that where there are spare bedrooms, that people who are on housing benefit are making the same choices as ordinary working families who are not in the benefit system.
Councils in the north are describing this as a London-centric policy. They say it's not relevant to them.
Well, I'm a Midlands MP, and I know that in my local housing association they're working very practically and implementing the policy. So, but what I would accept is that there are always going to be differences between different parts of the country, and that's why the government and the department monitor that on an ongoing basis.
According to government figures, 2/3 of those affected by the cut in housing benefit are registered disabled or have long-term illness. That's 350,000 people nationwide.
Hi Annalise, it's Nicola.
They include Annalise and Kevin from Huntingdon in Cambridgeshire.
This is Shay. Shay, Kevin.
Nice to meet you.
And I'll leave
Thanks
you two
for having
to it.
us.
No problems.
Cool, so this is the place.
Yep.
Well, show me around.
Yeah, I'll show you around.
A year ago, wheelchair user Annalise developed a pressure sore.
This is Shane.
Oh, yeah?
She had to temporarily give up her work as a receptionist, and she's now confined to this special hospital bed.
I'll perch on the end here, do you mind?
No, you carry on. Carry on.
Great. So, tell me about you. How long have you lived here?
8 years now.
8 years?
Yeah.
Right. And was it built with you guys in mind?
It was, yes. It was all built around us.
Were you under the impression that this would be your house forever?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Well, we didn't seem to think there was going to be any implications because we wanted a 2 bedrooms because of having 2 people in wheelchairs. Having a double flat makes it everywhere a lot larger.
The couple had moved in as part of the previous policy of offering people a home for life. The average cost of adapting a property like this is around £20,000.
This is a hob, and it can be taken lower. Yeah.
And need 2 different heights. Is that the same over here?
The same with the sink as well, yes. Lowered.
Brilliant.
Got one more surprise.
Oh, yeah.
Right, I'll show you here. We've got an extra shelf that when we open the oven, if we've got something in there, we can pull it out and pop it on there. It's heat proof.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And then close the oven. Right, this is our storage room.
Your storage room, yeah. This is the room that is causing all the fuss.
It is. This is where everything goes.
So yeah, it's the electric wheelchair. I mean, if you were in a 1 bed, where would that go?
This, I honestly don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's why we need this 2nd bedroom for storage.
So what are you being told then about your status in this house?
We've been told we have to pay for the 2nd bedroom.
What does that mean for you?
£137 a month extra we have to find.
Finding that £137 means cutting back on food and heating.
How long do you think you can continue like this?
I don't know how long we can, but we're going to have to. Because we don't want to move. This place is specifically adapted for both of us, and if we had to move, it would cost much more money to adapt somewhere else.
And you say you're hoping to go back to work?
Hopefully. And I was going to stop my benefits when I get back to work. But at the moment, we just can't cope, you know, without having those benefits and being able to live a reasonable life.
To deal with just these kinds of issues, the government has provided a special support fund.
We wanted to make sure that there was discretionary housing payment available, so that where there are perhaps special adaptations, that there was money available from councils, and that has come from central government. I think it's £180 million this year, so that local councils can look at each individual case on its merits, and I think that's better than setting down in central statute exactly how each case needs to be treated.
However, figures obtained by the National Housing Federation show that nearly 1 in 3 disabled people applying have been refused these payments. In some areas, the figure's even lower, with just 1 in 10 applicants successful in one part of the country.
Last month, 5 disabled tenants went to the Court of Appeal to argue that the bedroom tax unfairly discriminates against them. The judgment is due this month, and with so many disabled people affected by the bedroom tax, victory for the families could be a big blow for the government. Coming up, how the policy is working for some people.
Now they've got their own room each. You can't ask for them more when the kids are not bickering, and do you know what I mean? It's heaven.
And the Conservative councillor who's decided to speak out.
This is going to have a disastrous effect at the ballot box.
Losing weight can be a real struggle.
But we all did it.
With XLS Medical. And you too could lose up to 3 times more weight than through dieting alone. It binds some dietary fat and is gentle on your system. XLS Medical Fat Binder, the UK's #1 weight loss tablet. And now you can lose up to 3 times more weight with new XLS Medical Carb Blocker. Just right for those with carb-heavy diets.
Hello, I'm Brian. I was confused A good credit score can help you get the things you want in life. At Experian Credit Expert, we help you understand your credit score and show you ways to improve it, so you can get a better rate on things like credit cards, loans, and mortgages. We've already helped over 5 million customers take control of their Experian credit score. Get your free 30-day trial at experian.co.uk and see how we can help you.
Versace Eros, the new fragrance for men.
Send a personalised Valentine's Day card from the Dogs Doodars and you'll soon be knee-deep in snog juice. TheDogsDoodars.com. It's easy peasy butter squeezy.
Find out more about short breaks at centreparks.co.uk.
Introducing Always Infinity. While regular pads mostly contain fluffed fibres, Always Infinity is made with Infinicell, an innovative material new to the UK. It moulds to fit your body so you may not even feel it, goes back to its original shape almost without bunching, and absorbs twice as much as you may need. Always Infinity, the only pad with Infinicell.
Clean, dry, fresh. Always.
And UK women loved it so much they voted it Product of the Year.
How can a car's design make driving feel like this? Start by making it lighter. Reduce the size of the wheel. Raise the instruments to help keep your eyes on the road. And declutter to make the surface of the road feel as close as possible to the hair on your skin. Voila. New Peugeot 308. Driving sensations.
Does enchantment pour out of every door?
Return to the most talked about street in Britain.
Just on the street where you live.
Benefit Street continues tonight at 9 on 4.
Since its introduction in April last year, the government has recorded a steady drop in those affected by the bedroom tax, a sign that people are moving rather than face a cut in their housing benefit. Liam Byrne works for B3 Living, a housing association based in Hertfordshire, who help arrange these moves.
So essentially we're going to go to a few properties where we managed to do an exchange. Exchange is essentially where a resident can swap their home with someone else.
And with 249,000 overcrowded households in England and Wales and 386,000 under-occupied, home swapping between tenants has become a focus for social landlords.
Shay, nice to meet you. When did you first find out that you could move house?
B3 phoned me up and asked me if I was interested in a 2-bedroom at Chisholm. It was in the wrong area. So then I used to speak to the lady that lived here called Michelle, and she said and she needed a 4-bedroom, so we spoke in the past about it.
As part of a chain of house swaps, Jerry moved into Michelle's old house, and Michelle moved into an even larger 4-bed house.
So tell me about the house you used to live in.
Well, it was a 2-bedroom. And they weren't quite large bedrooms, they were quite small. And there was me and my partner, and my 3 children lived there, and the 3 kids shared a room. It was basically too small.
How much more space have you got in this house then?
I've got an extra bedroom, a much bigger kitchen, front garden and back garden.
I bet he loves it.
Yeah, it's got more room to crawl around in.
When the government brought in this policy, they said it would save money on benefits and it would be better because the right people would be in the right house.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're agreeing with them.
Yeah, I agree with them.
Is that him agreeing as well?
Yeah, he's agreeing as well.
But I mean, it's magic. Yeah. Best thing we ever done moving here. Now they've got their own room each. You can't ask for them more when the kids are not bickering and, do you know what I mean? It's heaven.
Michelle and Jerry now live round the corner from each other. They've become close friends. They're poster girls for the way the social housing system might work, with people moving as their needs change. A home swap event in East London. Tenants advertise their overcrowded or under-occupied homes and browse the ads looking for the right-sized property.
There is some, but it's not where we want it.
People don't always find their perfect new home.
We need a 2-bed.
You need a 2-bed, so that's the one. How many bedrooms do you have?
One. It's no good. It's got to be a ground floor flat.
You've got to be able to accept my dog. We're giving up a 3-bedroom, but nothing.
Figures from one of the UK's largest home swapping organisations show that in the past year, only 15% of those registered to downsize have found a swap.
Kind of seems like now you have overcrowding, under-occupancy, surely the two cancel each other out.
Yes, if only that were the case. I mean, there's a couple of problems here. One is that actually, if you look at the distribution of households by size across the country and you compare that to the distribution of properties by size across the country, they don't match up very well.
If everybody could move around the country, would there be enough houses to house people in smaller or larger properties?
No, my understanding is that we would then be really rather short of smaller 1- and bedroom properties and 1- and 2-bedroom properties more generally, and that's because historically those have not been the homes that government has prioritised building in the affordable and social rented sectors.
Successful home swaps seem to be the exception rather than the rule. People who can't or won't move face a cut in their benefits, and some have taken their fight to the streets.
The heightened and pernicious bedroom tax has seen mass social cleansing within the cities in this country. Families torn apart.
And let's show this Tory government that we haven't given up, that we're just beginning the fight back, and we're out to get them.
Others have taken their fight to the courts. With an increase in successful tribunals against the bedroom tax, the Department for Work and Pensions is worried local councils may be failing to challenge these rulings. In December, they issued an urgent message to all councils asking to be told about cases that the councils had lost and suggesting that the department may appeal on their behalf.
Dispatches has been sent an email from one council which says that they're not even intending to turn up in court when people challenge the bedroom tax. It says that this council intends to do the minimum necessary to fulfil its legal obligations.
I would summarise our current position with regard to the bedroom tax tribunals as doing the least that is necessary to fulfil our fiduciary duty.
I think we want local government to be the people who implement it. They do a great job implementing council tax benefit and housing benefit across the country. So we want to work with them because they know what's best in their local area.
Walsall in the West Midlands. Nearly 4,000 people have been affected by the bedroom tax. The council, run by a Tory Lib Dem coalition, has voted against the policy on 3 separate occasions.
A lot of people say that this policy is proof that the Conservatives are out of touch. They don't really understand the lived experience of the man on the street.
I think to a certain extent that's true. I've made contact with ministers on occasions that clearly don't understand the effect this is having at the ground floor. I've said this many times, there is no recession in London. It is when you get further up the M1 that you find that that's where these policies are hurting. And as a result, it is having an effect on Tory people. There are councillors who are not like me and perhaps a little bit reticent to speak out. Well, I'm sorry, the time has come when those councillors have got to put their money where their mouth is and explain to the grandees of our party that this is going to have a disastrous effect at the ballot box.
Of all the countries that make up the UK, Scotland has the highest proportion of people impacted by the bedroom tax, with 76,000 affected. So Scottish councils find themselves on the front line of the policy. what actually constitutes a spare bedroom is decided by local authorities. Since the policy came into effect, how has your council been dealing with it?
We're looking at people where we can reclassify their bedrooms to take them out of the bedroom tax altogether.
Isn't that cheating?
It's not cheating, it's using the regulations that the government have put in place. It's something the government should have done in the first place. These people should have been exempted from the bedroom tax rather than councils like ours having to spend a lot of money, a lot of taxpayers' money, doing the government's jobs for them.
It seems to me that a lot of the money that you're having to spend is actually because you're trying not to implement the policy fully.
You know, it's not because we're not implementing the bedroom tax. Our council is doing everything within the law. We're doing everything within the regulations. But we're making sure that we're defending tenants.
Housing benefit's expensive. Something needed to change. The policy needed to change.
Yeah, the policy on housing could have changed. All the government has done here is shunting the cost down to local authorities. We are spending more than is being saved, in inverted commas, by the government. £250,000 net costs to this area. That's £250,000 that we can't spend in social services and child protection and job creation.
Problems implementing the bedroom tax just keep coming, and now a loophole has been discovered. Resolving this situation is likely to cost taxpayers millions. Campaigners in Liverpool are meeting to discuss the implications.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Joe Hailwood. I'm a housing consultant, in case you didn't know me. Today I'd like to talk about the pre-1996 exempt issue.
Housing benefit regulations dating back to 1996 protect the level of rent that some social tenants pay. The Department for Work and Pensions failed to notice this piece of legislation before it brought in the new policy. As a result, people who should have been exempt have had their benefits cut.
It's quite simple, really. There are a huge number of people who have had the bedroom tax imposed wrongly. The people who are exempt are those who meet these two conditions. Firstly, they've been on continuous housing benefit since 1996, and secondly, they've been in the same property in that time.
Karen Price is one of those attending. Her wish to stay in her property may now be granted. Since April, her housing benefit has been cut by 25% of her total rent, increasing her debt to £800. But she may have been exempt all along.
So you had all these rent arrears building up. How did it feel when you found out that maybe you should have been exempt all that time?
I was angry. I was angry at the fact that this is being left to go so long. That was just a simple, tiny rule that was missed. And by missing that, the pain, heartache that they've caused to people is horrendous.
Since the loophole was discovered, a fierce debate has started over the numbers involved. The government say it's as few as 5,000 households. However, campaigners believe the figure could be as high as 40,000.
How many people do you think are going to be affected by this?
I have not heard a definitive figure, but I believe it is about 1% of the total people affected, and I heard a figure of about 5,000.
How can the government put out a policy with such an obvious loophole still in place?
There's apparently 1,000 pages of guidance, and no one had spotted this loophole for many years. What we're going to try and do is make sure that we clarify that legislation, that we simplify the guidance, because it's just not practical, is it, for civil servants to have to cope with 1,000 pages of guidance.
It may not be practical, but when you make a policy, we as the public expect you to have gone through all the relevant guidance, whether it's 1,000 pages or not. Why is that not happening?
Well, of course, the policy intention is that everyone should be reviewing exactly how much accommodation is needed in a particular social home. So there was never any intention to exempt a particular group of people, but I gather that there are some people who've perhaps been continuously in the same property for 17 years, and no one for many years had spotted that there was that particular page in this 1,000 pages of guidance.
The government never meant for these people to be exempt from the bedroom tax and intends to close this loophole in March. So those benefiting from the exemption will once again find themselves facing the difficult choice. Find the extra money to stay in their homes or move to a smaller property.
9 o'clock tonight and the curtain comes up on Benefit Street. Another glimpse at life on the welfare system that